The late afternoon sun was sneaking through the cracks in the mini blinds to create a diffused world of long shadows as I woke from a nap to find my weenie dog sleeping peacefully against my chest, the cat curled up purring at my knees, and the essence of a sapling eucalyptus drifting in through an open window. From the kitchen, a scent of spaghetti sauce brewing in the crock pot filtered in, and the sound of my lover moving around in the next room gave a sense of utter well-being to my world. Less than a second had passed since waking as I took a slow, deep breath, marveling at the way the setting sun was playing with all the strange and dusty trinkets on my altar. No longer used much, but nonetheless a standing icon to the days when ritual was a tool to hone and focus intent. Dust. A pain stabbed at my heart, not in any physical manner, but in spirit, and I felt the little smile that had been tugging at my lips fade back into the world of dreaming. Something in the dust had brought me back to ordinary awareness, to the knowledge that whispered in the voice of tree leaves dragging softly across the roof, "You're a being who is going to die." In an instant, I was transported forward or sideways in the belly of time, and the dust on my altar had become the ashes of the being who had inhabited the assemblage point of me. Perhaps it was 50 years in the future, 5 months or 5 minutes. All I knew was that my time on Earth had ended, and I was standing to the side, watching, as other humans sifted through the ruins of all those things we leave behind when we leave this world. Funny, actually, that most of what we spend a lifetime creating ends up in some thrift store basement or at the leading edge of a bonfire. Just the ashes of our self-importance scattered to the winds of Neverland. It was as if I were watching the aftermath of my life play out on that old altar, where journals have gone to gather cobwebs, and hawk feathers and raven feathers, and hatched snake eggs, and broken beads and melted wax, and little pebbles found in rare desert streams, and a gaudy plastic pirate ring from Disneyland had found a resting place. For a brief time. The items themselves have no power, of course. They're only trinkets of a phantom past, souvenirs of life. The sun seemed to caress each one, and then the room fell softly and inevitably into darkness. For a few moments in that stillness between the worlds, I wanted to weep. And yet, at the same time, I wanted to jump up and pound my fists against the quantumly cold chest of some non-existent idea of a god who had, according to the prevailing myth of our society, created a perfect world, and then in his anger, imbued it with death. It matters not in the least that there may be no such being to whom we may turn our anger and our frustration. What matters is our absolute and undeniable realization that we are beings who are going to die. And yet, something in that equation has always struck me as ironic and utterly inefficient. And despite the knowledge I've gained on this path, that sense of wrongness hasn't changed. In fact, it's what motivates us as warriors, the sense that we're in a prison awaiting our own death sentence. And the only way out is the path to freedom that enables us to shed this organic body and trade it instead for the energetic vessel of the shaman stubble, the higher self, the energy body, the dreaming body, the thing that transcends. Sure, I understand all of that, and yet it also matters not in the least that I have gained a comprehension of why things are the way they are. Without death, without love and the two-part migration of the soul, chances are we would be little more than idyllic bliss-ninnies running about the garden, stealing honey from the bees, and frolicking naked beneath the world tree with our genitals flapping in the wind. For clearly it is the existence of death that gives us our motivation to run for our lives through the jungle of all existence, carving a path toward our evolution with a blade of pure intent that has a tendency to slice away some of that beautiful foliage of the garden to reveal the illusion beneath. Sometimes it seems we can pause barely long enough to enjoy that one perfect moment of long shadows and sleeping weenie dogs and the dust of time on the journals of our journey. Sure, I know some of the answers now, because I've done the work required by this path. And yet, what that really means is knowing I know nothing. And yet sometimes I have to wonder, without expectation of an answer, if this really is the way things are, or if something went horribly wrong in the Matrix that resulted in this strange state of affairs where we find and even embody those moments of perfection, only to be forced to release them just as quickly, as time grinds forward like some ruthless predator devouring our youth, and whispering that the dust on the altar is really the dust of old friends, and pets who lie sleeping in the earth, and our own future history writing its name in itself in the dust of the now. Sometimes, knowing that I'm a being who's going to die makes those perfect moments all the more perfect. Other times, it makes them all the more perfectly painful. And that's what drives me to occasionally run outside in the night, as I did as an 11-year-old girl, and shake my fist at the sky and howl in despair with intent. If I can't come to you, I'll bring you to me. The shaman's double answered that little girl's cry. And yet, the dust on the altar defines the warrior's melancholy.